Azlan Adnan, M.A., presents Tempe, Java's nutritious gift to the culinary world, a history, science, and culinary journey of Indonesia's greatest fermented food, Tuesday, 21 July 2026.
Tempe, Java's nutritious gift to the culinary world. A history, science, and culinary journey of Indonesia's greatest fermented food, by Azlan Adnan, M.A. Tuesday, the 21st of July 2026. Introduction. Food has a unique ability to cross borders, but rarely does it undergo a transformation as radical as the one that took place on the island of Java centuries ago. Today, walk into a supermarket in London, New York, or Sydney, and you will likely find a compact white cake of Tempe resting in the refrigerated aisle. To the modern global consumer, it is celebrated as a contemporary superfood, a staple of plant-based diets, valued for its high protein content, sustainability, and gut-friendly properties. Yet to view Tempe solely through the lens of modern Western wellness trends is to miss one of the most remarkable stories in culinary history. Tempe is, first and foremost, Java's profound culinary gift to the world. It represents a brilliant synthesis of agricultural adoption, accidental discovery, and deliberate microbiological mastery. At its core, the story of Tempe is the story of how an imported Chinese crop, the soybean, was reimagined by Javanese ingenuity into an entirely new food form long before the advent of modern laboratory science. Unlike other famous soy products such as tofu or soy sauce, which originated in East Asia, Tempe is uniquely Southeast Asian. Its journey weaves through ancient maritime trade routes, the fertile volcanic landscapes of Java, and the quiet kitchen traditions of rural households. It is a food born of necessity and elevated by culture. Tempe, Java's nutritious gift to the culinary world, is designed to bridge the gap between tradition and modern science. Written for the curious general reader, this book explores Tempe from three distinct perspectives. The history. We trace the journey of the soybean from the Yellow River valleys of ancient China to the bustling ports of the Indonesian archipelago. We examine how Javanese farmers adopted the crop, how the mysterious Rhizopus mold was first harnessed using humble banana leaves, and how the earliest written records, such as the Serat Centhini, document Tempe's rise from a modest rural staple to a cultural icon. The science. We demystify the fermentation process. Correcting the common misconception that Tempe is made from raw beans, we break down the meticulous biological stages of production, from boiling and dehulling to the growth of the white mycelial cake. We introduce Rhizopus oligosporus, the remarkable fungus that acts as a natural biochemist, unlocking nutrients, neutralizing anti-nutrients, and transforming the humble bean into a highly digestible protein powerhouse. We even explore modern, surprising scientific applications, such as how Tempe acts as a natural emulsifier to create exceptionally creamy smoothies. The culinary journey. We celebrate Tempe in the kitchen. We begin with its traditional Javanese roots, honoring classics like Tempe goreng, Tempe basham, and orek tempe, before exploring its contemporary global adaptations. From air-fried snacks and robust Tempe burgers to plant-based curries and nutrient-dense blended drinks, we demonstrate how this ancient ingredient fits seamlessly into the 21st century kitchen. Throughout this book, we balance a deep appreciation for Javanese innovation with a commitment to evidence-based truth. Where history relies on informed reconstruction rather than hard archaeological facts, we say so. Where nutrition science is still evolving, such as the nuances of Tempe's postbiotic benefits, we distinguish established consensus from ongoing research. Ultimately, Tempe is more than just an ingredient. It is a lesson in sustainability and human creativity. As the world searches for ways to feed a growing population without depleting the planet's resources, this centuries-old Javanese innovation offers a profound path forward. Welcome to the history, the science, and the extraordinary culinary journey of Indonesia's greatest fermented food. Chapter 1. From China to Java, the birth of Tempe. The air in the Javanese twilight is thick with humidity and the rich, earthy scent of damp soil. Inside a modest thatched kitchen, a cook gently wraps a bundle of warm boiled soybeans in a vibrant green banana leaf. There are no thermometers here, no sterile laboratory dishes, and no understanding of microscopic life. Yet, as the bundle rests in the tropical warmth, an invisible alchemy begins. Over the next 48 hours, a delicate web of white threads will weave its way through the beans, binding them into a firm, solid cake. When sliced and fried, it will yield a rich, nutty flavor that sustains a family. This is the birth of Tempe. It is a food that exists at a unique crossroads of human history, the result of a centuries-long journey across oceans, the adaptation of an alien crop to a volcanic island, and a brilliant accidental mastery of microbiology. To understand how this uniquely Javanese innovation came to be, we must first look thousands of miles to the north, long before the first ship ever set sail for the Indonesian archipelago. 1.1. The Ancient Soybean. The story of Tempe does not begin in Indonesia, nor does it begin with a fungus. It begins in the yellow earth of northern China during the Neolithic period. Here, wild soybean vines, scrawny, prostrate plants with tiny bitter seeds, grew as weeds along the edges of marshes and rivers. Through generations of patient selection, ancient Chinese farmers domesticated the plant into the large, upright, yellow-seeded soybean we recognize today. Archaeological evidence, including carbonized seeds uncovered from sites in Henan and Shandong provinces, suggests this agricultural transition was well underway by the Shang dynasty. By the time of the Zhou dynasty, the soybean had risen to a position of profound cultural and political importance. It was canonized as one of the 5 sacred grains alongside rice, millet, barley, and wheat, and was said to be blessed by the mythical Emperor Shennong. Yet, the raw soybean is a stubborn crop. Unlike peas or lentils, it cannot simply be boiled and eaten in large quantities. It contains high levels of anti-nutrients like phytic acid and trypsin inhibitors, which disrupt human digestion and cause severe bloating. To unlock its potential, Chinese civilization pioneered ingenious processing methods. They utilized water extraction, crushing the beans to create soy milk, and later coagulating it into tofu. They also mastered mold fermentation, using molds like Aspergillus oryzae in the presence of heavy salt to brew liquid soy sauce and savory bean pastes. For centuries, East Asian soy technology relied heavily on these salt-heavy and liquid-state fermentations. But as Chinese trade networks expanded south, the soybean was carried into an entirely different ecological world. 1.2. China looks south. Long before European galleons arrived in the Indian Ocean, a sophisticated maritime trading network connected the South China Sea with the kingdoms of Southeast Asia. Chinese merchants from the southern provinces of Guangdong and Fujian sailed southwards on the seasonal monsoon winds, chasing spices, fragrant woods, and swallows' nests. Historical records from the Tang and Song dynasties confirm that these trade routes linked southern China directly with the coastal ports of Java. Along with silk, porcelain, and iron pans, these merchants carried their dietary staples. It is highly probable that soybeans were initially brought along as ship provisions, serving as a dense, non-perishable source of nutrition for long voyages. Over time, as Chinese enclaves settled permanently in Javanese port cities like Tuban and Semarang, these immigrant communities began planting the familiar yellow bean in foreign soil. While direct archaeological evidence of the exact century the soybean arrived in Java remains elusive, scholarly inference points firmly to a gradual botanical migration occurring between the 10th and 13th centuries. 1.3. Why Java was different. Soybeans were introduced to various parts of Southeast Asia, including Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, but it was on the island of Java that the crop truly flourished and triggered a culinary revolution. The reason lies in Java's extraordinary geography. Java is defined by its spine of active volcanoes. Over millennia, eruptions have blanketed the island in rich, basic volcanic ash, creating some of the most fertile agricultural land on Earth. Blessed with a tropical climate and abundant water, Javanese farmers mastered wet rice cultivation, which allowed for multiple harvests a year. Soybeans found a perfect ecological niche as a secondary crop, planted in the rice paddies during the dry season to rest the soil. Because soybeans are legumes, they host nitrogen-fixing bacteria in their roots, naturally restoring the fertility of the soil for the next rice cycle. Unlike Sumatra, which favored vast forests and pepper crops, or Malacca, which relied almost entirely on maritime trade for its food, Java possessed the dense population, agricultural sophistication, and unique volcanic terroir required to make soybean cultivation a widespread domestic success. 1.4. The Mystery of Tempe. If the soybean is Chinese, Tempe is undeniably Javanese. No food like it exists in the traditional culinary canon of China. How did a culture accustomed to salt-heavy, liquid soy fermentations invent a dry, solid cake bound by white fungus? The exact inventor of Tempe is lost to history. It was almost certainly an accidental discovery, born of observation and resourcefulness in a rural household. In this informed historical reconstruction, we can imagine a Javanese cook who boiled soybeans with the intention of using them later, but instead left them soaking or resting. Lacking ceramic jars, they likely wrapped the discarded cooked beans in wild banana leaves. The underside of banana leaves naturally plays host to wild airborne molds of the genus Rhizopus. In the humid, warm Javanese climate, these spores quickly found the moist cooked beans. Within 2 days the mold grew, enveloping the beans in a pristine white mycelium. Instead of rotting and smelling of decay, the bundle smelled pleasantly of mushrooms and nuts. Intrigued, a hungry farmer tasted it and found it delicious, filling and easy on the stomach. Through repeated observation, this accidental contamination became a deliberate, highly sophisticated biotechnology. Javanese households learned to save a small piece of a successful batch, a starter culture known today as larue, to inoculate the next, cementing Tempe as a daily kitchen practice. 1.5. The earliest written evidence. For centuries, Tempe was a food of the common people, passed down through oral tradition and domestic habit. Because it was not a luxury item traded at royal courts, early court scribes ignored it. Consequently, written records appeared centuries after its actual invention. The earliest known written mention of the word Tempe occurs in the Surat Centhini, a monumental 12-volume compilation of Javanese history, tales and culture, written under the direction of Crown Prince Mangkunagara V of Surakarta. The text, which sets its narrative in the early 17th century during the reign of Sultan Agung, describes a dish called Jahe Santen Tempe, which features tempeh in a ginger coconut milk broth being served to guests. It also mentions tempeh, dhingwr, a preparation of overripe tempeh. The casual nature of these literary references proves that by the 1600s, tempeh was already deeply embedded in Javanese life across various social strata. Based on linguistic patterns and agricultural timelines, historical consensus suggests that tempeh was likely invented somewhere between the 13th and 16th centuries. 1.6. Tempeh becomes a Javanese staple. Once established, tempeh became the ultimate democratic food of Java. It required no expensive equipment, no imported salt, and no lengthy aging process like Chinese soy sauce. It could be made in a corner of a village kitchen using local firewood, river water, and abundant banana leaves. For the rural population, tempeh was a dietary lifesaver. While elite classes dined on water buffalo, chicken, and fresh fish, the ordinary Javanese peasant relied heavily on rice. Tempeh provided an affordable, accessible source of high-quality protein and essential vitamins that perfectly complemented the local rice-based diet. It became more than just sustenance. It became a symbol of Javanese domestic resilience and identity. As Javanese migrants moved throughout the Indonesian archipelago in subsequent centuries, seeking work in Sumatra, Sulawesi, and beyond, they carried their starter cultures with them, transforming a regional Javanese innovation into a defining culinary staple of the entire Indonesian nation. Chapter Summary. The journey of tempeh begins with the domestication of the soybean in northern China, where it was elevated to a sacred crop and processed primarily through liquid, salt-heavy fermentations like soy sauce and tofu. Through ancient monsoon trade routes, Chinese merchants brought this crop to Southeast Asia, where it found a uniquely fertile home in Java's volcanic soil. Integrated as a vital secondary crop in wet rice agriculture, the soybean became abundant. Tempe itself was born from an extraordinary accidental fermentation, where wild Rhizopus molds naturally present on banana leaves transformed cooked soybeans into a solid, nutritious cake. Although its true origins are centuries older, the first written record of tempeh appears in the 1814 Javanese epic, the Surat Centhini, confirming its long-standing role as a deeply cherished household staple and an enduring symbol of Javanese ingenuity. Chapter 2. The Science Behind Tempe. To step into the world of tempeh fermentation is to witness a profound biochemical transformation. To the naked eye, the process seems deceptively simple. Beans are soaked, cooked, left to rest, and within 2 days they are bound together by a dense white jacket of mold. Yet beneath that snowy surface, a complex microscopic orchestra is at work. While early Javanese households perfected this food through centuries of keen observation, modern microbiology has finally unlocked the secrets of why this process works so brilliantly. Fermentation takes a physically stubborn, nutritionally locked bean and turns it into one of the most bioavailable, nutrient-dense plant foods on the planet. 2.1. Understanding the soybean. To appreciate the magic of tempeh, we must first understand the raw material. Botanically, the soybean is an overachiever. While most common legumes are prized primarily for their carbohydrates, the soybean behaves more like an animal food in terms of its macronutrient profile. It is a biological powerhouse, containing roughly 40% protein and 20% oil by dry weight, balanced with a rich supply of dietary fiber, essential minerals, and health-promoting compounds known as isoflavones. Yet, nature did not design the soybean to be easily eaten by mammals. Like many seeds, it protects its genetic future using an array of chemical defenses known as anti-nutrients. Chief among these is phytic acid, a stubborn molecule that binds tightly to essential minerals like iron, zinc, and calcium in the human digestive tract, preventing our bodies from absorbing them. Raw soybeans also contain potent trypsin inhibitors, chemical compounds that deactivate trypsin, an essential enzyme our pancreas secretes to break down proteins. If you eat raw or poorly cooked soybeans, these inhibitors ensure that the protein passes right through you unabsorbed, frequently causing severe indigestion, gas, and bloating along the way. The raw soybean is a treasure chest, but it is locked tight. 2.2 How Tempe is actually made. There is a widespread misconception among global consumers that Tempe is made by fermenting raw soybeans. In reality, raw beans would never allow the necessary mold to grow. Making Tempe is a multi-stage culinary science that requires precise physical and biological alterations at every single step. The journey begins with cleaning and soaking the dry beans in water overnight. This soaking step does more than just rehydrate the seed, it triggers a natural, benign bacterial fermentation. Local lactic acid bacteria present on the beans and in the environment multiply, gently lowering the pH of the water. This mild acidification is crucial because it creates a protective environment that discourages the growth of dangerous spoilage bacteria later on. After soaking comes dehulling, where the beans are rubbed together to split them and remove their papery outer skins. This is a vital mechanical step. The mold we use cannot easily pierce the tough, intact hull of a soybean. Removing the skin exposes the nutrient-rich cotyledons, the inner halves of the bean, giving the mold direct access to its food source. The dehulled, split beans are then thoroughly cooked by boiling or steaming. This serves a triple purpose. It softens the bean texture, destroys any lingering wild bacteria, and completely deactivates the heat-sensitive trypsin inhibitors. Once cooked, the beans are spread out and cooled completely. They must be dried until the surface of the beans feels dry to the touch, yet retains internal moisture. If the beans are packed together while still hot or dripping wet, the target mold will literally drown, and foul-smelling putrefactive bacteria will take over. Once cooled and dried, the beans are inoculated with the starter culture containing spores of the specialized fungus Rhizopus oligosporus. The inoculated beans are then packed snugly into containers, historically wild banana leaves, today perforated plastic bags, and placed in a warm, humid environment held at ambient tropical temperatures. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, the spores germinate, extending thousands of microscopic root-like threads called hyphae. These threads tunnel deep into the beans, secreting powerful enzymes and weaving a dense, solid white mycelial cake that locks the loose beans into a firm, sliceable block. 2.3 Meet Rhizopus oligosporus. The undisputed hero of this transformation is Rhizopus oligosporus, a domestic variety of fungus belonging to the order Mucorales. Through centuries of traditional production, Javanese kitchens inadvertently domesticated this wild mold, adapting it perfectly to a life lived entirely on cooked legumes. Rhizopus oligosporus is uniquely suited to the soybean for several reasons. It is an incredibly aggressive, fast-moving organism. In optimal warm temperatures, its spores germinate within hours, outcompeting wild environmental molds and harmful bacteria for space and nutrients. As it grows, the fungus acts like a microscopic structural engineer. Its white, fuzzy mycelium does not just wrap around the outside of the cake, it knits the individual soybeans together from the inside out, creating a cohesive, resilient structure without the need for starch, flour, or chemical binders. Crucially, Rhizopus oligosporus is a benign organism that produces no toxins. Instead, it acts as a natural sanitizer. By quickly consuming the available free sugars and maintaining the acidic environment established during the initial soaking stage, it creates a hostile territory for dangerous pathogens, naturally preserving the food as it builds it. 2.4 Fermentation, nature's biochemistry. Once Rhizopus oligosporus establishes itself within the soybean cake, it begins to secrete a vast array of digestive enzymes, acting as an external, pre-digestive organ for the human consumer. This is where the true biochemical magic happens. The fungus releases powerful proteolytic enzymes, which act like microscopic scissors that clip long, complex, tightly folded soy proteins into short-chain peptides and free amino acids. This extensive protein breakdown mimics the work of our own stomach and intestinal enzymes. Because the protein is already partially dismantled, the human body can absorb it with remarkable ease and speed, placing minimal stress on the digestive tract. Simultaneously, the mold produces phytase, an enzyme that systematically breaks down phytic acid. By dismantling this anti-nutrient, fermentation unlocks the bound minerals within the soybean. Iron, zinc, and magnesium are suddenly set free, drastically increasing their bioavailability to the human body. This deep chemical shift profoundly alters the flavor, aroma, and texture of the bean. The raw, grassy, slightly bitter notes of the soybean vanish, replaced by an intricate array of savory volatiles. Glutamic acid, the natural source of umami, rises significantly, giving tempeh its characteristic deeply savory, mushroom-like and nutty aroma, while the firm bite of the bean softens into a tender, satisfying chew. 2.5 Tempeh and human health. The health benefits resulting from this microbial alchemy are extensive, supported by an ever-growing body of peer-reviewed nutritional science. First and foremost is the exceptional quality of its protein. Tempeh provides a complete protein profile, containing all 9 essential amino acids that the human body cannot synthesize on its own, making it fully comparable to animal protein for muscle maintenance, tissue repair, and healthy aging. Because the anti-nutrients are neutralized, tempeh is incredibly gentle on the gut. Individuals who experience severe gastrointestinal distress when eating standard boiled beans or ultra-processed soy isolates frequently find that they can consume tempeh with complete comfort. Furthermore, scientific consensus has established that the isoflavones in tempeh, antioxidant compounds linked to cardiovascular health, bone density retention, and blood sugar regulation, are converted by fermentation into an active aglycone form that the human body can absorb much more efficiently. Ongoing clinical research is also investigating tempeh's role in promoting satiety, finding that its unique combination of intact dietary fiber and pre-digested protein triggers hormones that signal fullness to the brain, making it an excellent tool for metabolic health. 2.6 Is tempeh a probiotic? As global interest in gut health has exploded, tempeh is frequently marketed alongside yogurt, kimchi, and kombucha as a potent probiotic food. However, clean science requires us to make a crucial distinction between different types of gut-supporting compounds. To be classified as a true probiotic, a food must deliver live, active, beneficial microorganisms directly to the consumer's gut. While fresh, raw tempeh is absolutely teeming with live Rhizopus mycelium and beneficial lactic acid bacteria, tempeh is almost never consumed raw. Because it must be fried, baked, steamed, or grilled before eating, the high heat of cooking inevitably kills these live microbes. Therefore, commercially cooked tempeh is not a reliable source of live probiotics. The true gut benefit. Tempeh supports the microbiome through 2 alternative pathways, prebiotics and postbiotics. Tempeh is packed with prebiotic fibers, indigestible carbohydrates that survive cooking and pass into the large intestine, serving as premium fuel for your existing native gut bacteria. Furthermore, the fermentation process leaves behind postbiotics, a rich complex of heat-stable compounds, metabolic byproducts, and inactivated cellular structures produced by the mold during its life cycle. Research demonstrates that these postbiotic components continue to interact favorably with our immune system and gut lining, supporting digestive health long after the living organisms themselves have been cooked away. 2.7 The smoothie surprise. While tempeh's nutritional profile makes it a natural fit for savory dinners, its unique biochemistry gives rise to an unexpected and fascinating modern application, the breakfast smoothie. To the uninitiated, blending a fermented bean cake into a sweet fruit drink sounds bizarre, but the food science behind it is flawless. During the 48 hours of fermentation, Rhizopus oligosporus breaks down the cellular walls of the soybean, releasing a high concentration of natural soy lecithin. Lecithin is a powerful amphiphilic molecule, meaning it possesses a unique chemical structure where one end attracts water and the other attracts fat. This makes it a stellar natural emulsifier. When steamed and cooled tempeh is dropped into a blender with liquids, fruits, or nut butters, these liberated lecithin molecules immediately go to work, binding water and fats together into a seamless, tight matrix. Instead of creating a gritty or chalky drink, tempeh yields an extraordinarily smooth, velvety and thick texture that prevents the smoothie from separating or settling into layers, even if left sitting in a glass. Because tempeh's flavor profile becomes highly neutral and mildly nutty when steamed, it hides perfectly behind dark cocoa, rich coffee, peanut butter or frozen berries, providing a whole food, dairy-free protein boost that feels like an indulgent milkshake while keeping blood sugar remarkably stable. Chapter Summary. The soy barrier. Raw soybeans are packed with exceptional proteins and minerals, but they are chemically locked away by defensive anti-nutrients like phytic acid and trypsin inhibitors. The production sequence. Tempeh production requires a meticulous scientific progression of soaking, acidification, dehulling, cooking and cooling before inoculation can safely occur. The biological catalyst, Rhizopus oligosporus, is a fast-growing, non-toxic fungus that outcompetes harmful pathogens, acts as an external digestive system, and knits individual loose beans into a solid cake. Nutritional supercharged fermentation breaks down complex soy proteins into easily absorbable amino acids, eliminates digestive discomfort, and sets essential minerals free for human absorption. The gut health reality. Cooked tempeh does not deliver live probiotic bacteria to the gut, but it functions as a powerhouse of prebiotics and heat-stable postbiotics that deeply nourish the human microbiome. The emulsion secret. Thanks to natural soy lecithin released during fermentation, cooked tempeh acts as an incredible whole food emulsifier, creating smooth, stable and highly filling blended drinks. Chapter 3. Tempeh for the 21st century. The scent of hot oil and caramelized aromatics wafts through a bustling market street in Yogyakarta. Here, a vendor flips golden, sizzling slabs of tempeh that have been marinating in coriander, cumin, turmeric, chili, pepper and garlic. Halfway across the world, in a brightly lit kitchen in Copenhagen, a chef thinly shaves a block of the very same fermented food, dehydrating it into crisp shards to garnish a plant-based grain bowl. These parallel scenes capture the remarkable dual identity of tempeh in the modern era. What began as a humble, hyper-local survival food in the villages of Java has stepped onto the global culinary stage. It is no longer just Indonesia's best-kept secret, it has become a celebrated ingredient in the 21st century kitchen, valued equally by traditional home cooks, health-conscious home chefs, and avant-garde culinary innovators. 3.1 Traditional Indonesian cuisine. To truly appreciate tempeh's versatility, one must first understand how it is honored in its homeland. In Indonesia, tempeh is a blank canvas, loved for its ability to absorb complex spice pastes and adapt to varied cooking techniques. It appears at almost every meal, prepared in ways that span the sensory spectrum from simple and comforting to deeply sweet and fiery. The most ubiquitous preparation is tempeh goreng, or simple fried tempeh. Slabs are scored and steeped in a brine of crushed garlic, coriander seeds, salt and water before being shallow fried until the exterior shatters under the teeth, revealing a soft, nutty interior. For a more elaborate profile, Javanese cooks turn to tempeh basem, where the cakes are braised in coconut water, coconut sugar, galangal, lemongrass and bay leaves until the liquid reduces to a sticky glaze, before being quickly flash-fried to caramelize the sugars. In everyday household cooking, orek tempeh reigns supreme. Here, the tempeh is sliced into matchsticks, fried until crisp, and tossed in a sweet and savory reduction of sweet soy sauce, chilies, garlic and shallots. On mornings across the archipelago, nothing satisfies quite like sambal tempeh, where warm, fried tempeh is roughly crushed into a stone mortar alongside fiery bird's-eye chilies, shrimp paste and lime juice. From the rich, coconut-laden vegetable stews of sayur tempeh to regional variations that smoke, ferment or heavily spice the bean cakes, traditional Indonesian cuisine showcases a masterclass in texturing and seasoning this ancient food. 3.2 Beyond Indonesia. The journey of tempeh beyond the borders of Southeast Asia began quietly in the mid-20th century. As Dutch colonial ties faded, immigrants brought tempeh to Europe, establishing small-scale production in the Netherlands. By the 1970s, the ingredient made its way to North America, catching the attention of early counterculture figures and macrobiotic diet enthusiasts who were looking for wholesome, minimally processed alternatives to meat. For decades, tempeh remained a niche product, tucked away in the back corners of health food co-ops. However, the dawn of the 21st century brought a massive cultural shift. As the vegetarian and vegan movements evolved from fringe subcultures into mainstream lifestyle choices, the global food industry began searching for high-quality plant-based proteins. Unlike highly processed meat analogues that rely on isolated soy proteins, chemical binders, and extensive industrial manipulation, tempeh stood out as a whole, clean food. Modern supermarkets worldwide now stock tempeh right alongside tofu. It is celebrated by dietitians and environmentalists alike as a food that requires no lab-grown interventions to deliver a robust, meat-like texture and an exceptional nutritional profile. 3.3 Modern cooking. As tempeh has integrated into global kitchens, its culinary boundaries have expanded far beyond traditional Indonesian methods. Modern home cooks have discovered that tempeh's firm structure allows it to withstand almost any cooking technique thrown at it. Pan frying remains a favorite for quick weeknight meals, but oven roasting and air fry gig have emerged as popular hands-off methods for preparing oil-free tempeh cubes that hold their shape beautifully when tossed into Mediterranean grain bowls or vibrant autumn salads. The rise of the air fryer in particular has further revolutionized tempeh preparation, delivering an incredibly crisp exterior in a fraction of the time with minimal oil, making it an ideal crouton replacement or a crunchy snack. On summer afternoons in the West, tempeh frequently finds itself on the grill or barbecue. Because it does not melt or fall apart like tofu, blocks of tempeh can be threaded onto skewers with vegetables or sliced into thick steaks, absorbing smoky charcoal flavors alongside tangy barbecue sauces. It is equally at home crumbled into rustic Italian pasta sauces, where its texture mimics ground meat, or simmered in rich Indian curries, Thai coconut stews, and rolled into fresh lunchtime wraps and sandwiches. 3.4 Tempeh burgers. One of the most successful contemporary adaptations of this Javanese staple is the modern tempeh burger. For years, plant-based burgers suffered from a reputation of being either mushy, vegetable-laden patties or hyper-processed laboratory creations. Tempeh breaks this dichotomy by offering a naturally firm, satisfying chew. Making a truly great tempeh burger relies heavily on building deep, layered flavors. Because tempeh is naturally low in fat and boasts a mild, mushroom-like undertone, it benefits immensely from robust marinades. Infusing the patties with umami-rich ingredients like tamari, smoked paprika, balsamic vinegar, garlic powder, and a touch of liquid smoke allows the porous structure of the cake to drink in the flavors. Nutritiously, a tempeh burger offers significant advantages over a standard beef patty or an ultra-processed vegan burger. It provides a comparable amount of protein while being entirely free of dietary cholesterol and saturated trans fats. Furthermore, it delivers a massive dose of dietary fiber, something entirely absent from animal meats, making it an incredibly satiating option that supports cardiovascular health without compromising on the sensory pleasure of a backyard barbecue. 3.5 Smoothies. While savory applications are intuitive, one of the most surprising and scientifically fascinating modern uses for tempeh is its incorporation into sweet blended drinks. To the uninitiated, putting a fermented bean cake into a breakfast smoothie sounds unusual, yet it has become a favorite technique among nutritional scientists and athletes. The secret lies in the biochemistry of the fermentation process. As the rhizopus mold acts on the soybeans, it releases natural soy lecithin and breaks down complex starches. When cooked tempeh is blended with liquids, these compounds act as highly efficient natural emulsifiers. The result is a silky smoothie with an extraordinarily velvety, creamy consistency that holds its suspension far longer than standard protein powders. Tempeh's mild, nutty profile pairs exceptionally well with robust sweet flavors. It blends seamlessly with dark cocoa powder, freshly brewed coffee, and creamy peanut butter, mimicking the richness of dairy cream. For lighter options, it can be combined with rolled oats, frozen berries, or tropical fruits like bananas and mangoes. By adding a small handful of tempeh to a morning blend, one gains a whole food protein boost that stabilizes blood sugar and keeps hunger at bay for hours. 3.6 Sustainability. Beyond its versatility on the plate, tempeh has become a vital subject in conversations surrounding global food security and environmental conservation. The modern food system faces an unprecedented challenge: how to provide adequate nutrition to a growing global population without driving the planet into ecological collapse. When evaluated against animal-based proteins, tempeh's environmental footprint is remarkably low. Beef production is notoriously resource-intensive, requiring vast tracts of cleared land and immense quantities of water, while contributing heavily to greenhouse gas emissions. Soybeans converted directly into tempeh bypass the highly inefficient middleman of livestock consumption. The water and land use required to produce a kilogram of tempeh is a mere fraction of what is needed for beef. Furthermore, because the fermentation process happens quickly at ambient tropical temperatures or controlled incubation spaces over just 2 days, The industrial energy requirements are minimal. Choosing tempeh over animal proteins is one of the most impactful, direct culinary decisions an individual can make to reduce their personal carbon footprint and support a sustainable food future. 3.7. The future of tempeh. As we look toward the middle of the 21st century, the horizon for tempeh appears incredibly bright. It is moving beyond the realm of basic meat alternatives and entering the world of functional foods and advanced biotechnology. Researchers are currently exploring precision fermentation techniques to optimize Rhizopus strains, aiming to create variations of tempeh with even higher concentrations of specific vitamins, enhanced antioxidant profiles, and tailored textures. Global demand continues to scale rapidly. In an aging world population, tempeh is being looked at closely as a key dietary intervention to combat sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass, due to its easily digestible, highly bioavailable protein. From space exploration nutrition concepts to everyday school lunch programs, this ancient food is being reimagined for the future. Chapter Summary. In its native Indonesia, tempeh remains an essential cultural staple, celebrated through traditional dishes like tempe goreng, tempe basem, and orek tempe, that maximize its texture and flavor-absorbing qualities. Over the late 20th and early 21st centuries, tempeh migrated from a niche health food into mainstream global supermarkets, driven by the plant-based wellness movement. Contemporary cooking has embraced tempeh across diverse formats, proving its excellence in modern air-fried dishes, grilled options, and as a clean, whole food base for nutritious burgers. Thanks to the natural emulsifying properties unlocked by fermentation, cooked tempeh has even found a unique modern home in smoothies, providing creaminess and sustained satiety. With a remarkably small carbon, water, and land footprint compared to animal farming, tempeh stands out as a powerful, proven solution for sustainable 21st century nutrition. Conclusion: the living legacy of Java's gift. As we close this exploration of tempeh, we find ourselves returning to the same quiet kitchen where our journey began, watching a simple bundle of wrapped leaves transform under the tropical sun. What science now defines with precision, Javanese tradition has understood through practice for centuries. Tempeh stands as a masterclass in culinary synthesis, a living testament to what can happen when the agricultural output of one great culture is reimagined by the ecological resources and quiet brilliance of another. It remains Indonesia's ultimate gift to global food security, human health, and culinary art. Our journey through these pages has traced an extraordinary evolutionary path. We began in the ancient fields of China, unearthing the origins of the stubborn soybean and seeing how early civilizations used heavy salt and water extractions to tame its anti-nutrients. We followed that bean across monsoon-driven trade routes into the volcanic embrace of Java, where a unique terroir and domestic resourcefulness sparked a completely original biotechnology. By unraveling the biological mechanics of Rhizopus oligosporus, we saw how this resilient mold acts as a natural alchemist, binding simple beans into a digestible, protein-rich whole food. Finally, we stepped into the 21st century kitchen, witnessing how traditional Indonesian preparations like tempe goreng and tempe bacem have laid the groundwork for modern global innovations, from smoky backyard burgers to velvety morning smoothies. Throughout this book, our goal has been to honor both the history and the hard science of tempeh without resorting to hyperbole. We have separated historical consensus from informed reconstruction, just as we have carefully distinguished established nutritional facts from evolving research into prebiotics and postbiotics. The unembellished truth is more than enough. Tempeh does not need romanticized mythology to justify its status as a superfood. Its inherent biochemistry, its minimal environmental footprint, and its profound versatility speak entirely for themselves. Looking forward into the remainder of the 21st century, tempeh feels less like an ancient relic and more like a map for the future. In a world grappling with a changing climate, dwindling water supplies, and the pressing need to transition away from resource-heavy animal proteins, this centuries-old Javanese invention provides a brilliant, time-tested blueprint. It reminds us that humanity can nourish itself deeply, affordably, and sustainably without sacrificing culinary pleasure or relying on heavily processed, laboratory-engineered meat alternatives. Tempeh is a food born of the earth, perfected by tradition, and built for tomorrow. It is, and will always remain, Java's enduring gift to the world. Conclusion: the living legacy of Java's gift. As we close this exploration of tempeh, we find ourselves returning to the same quiet kitchen where our journey began, watching a simple bundle of wrapped leaves transform under the tropical sun. What science now defines with precision, Javanese tradition has understood through practice for centuries. Tempe stands as a masterclass in culinary synthesis, a living testament to what can happen when the agricultural output of one great culture is reimagined by the ecological resources and quiet brilliance of another. It remains Indonesia's ultimate gift to global food security, human health, and culinary art. Our journey through these pages has traced an extraordinary evolutionary path. We began in the ancient fields of China, unearthing the origins of the stubborn soybean and seeing how early civilizations used heavy salt and water extractions to tame its anti-nutrients. We followed that bean across monsoon-driven trade routes into the volcanic embrace of Java, where a unique terroir and domestic resourcefulness sparked a completely original biotechnology. By unraveling the biological mechanics of Rhizopus oligosporus, we saw how this resilient mold acts as a natural alchemist, binding simple beans into a digestible, protein-rich whole food. Finally, we stepped into the 21st century kitchen, witnessing how traditional Indonesian preparations like tempe goreng and tempe bacem have laid the groundwork for modern global innovations, from smoky backyard burgers to velvety morning smoothies. Throughout this book, our goal has been to honor both the history and the hard science of tempeh without resorting to hyperbole. We have separated historical consensus from informed reconstruction, just as we have carefully distinguished established nutritional facts from evolving research into prebiotics and postbiotics. The unembellished truth is more than enough. Tempeh does not need romanticized mythology to justify its status as a superfood. Its inherent biochemistry, its minimal environmental footprint, and its profound versatility speak entirely for themselves. Looking forward into the remainder of the 21st century, tempeh feels less like an ancient relic and more like a map for the future. In a world grappling with a changing climate, dwindling water supplies, and the pressing need to transition away from resource-heavy animal proteins, this centuries-old Javanese invention provides a brilliant, time-tested blueprint. It reminds us that humanity can nourish itself deeply, affordably, and sustainably without sacrificing culinary pleasure or relying on heavily processed, laboratory-engineered meat alternatives. Tempeh is a food born of the earth, perfected by tradition and built for tomorrow. It is, and will always remain, Java's enduring gift to the world.
The author has placed this work in the public domain. It may be freely imported, exported, shared, distributed, edited, modified, or reformatted without explicit consent from the author. As a visually impaired person, the author asserts his rights under the Marrakesh Treaty to facilitate access to published works for persons who are blind, visually impaired, or otherwise print disabled. 2013, WIPO.INT.
Early bird registration for my September 5th event is valid until July 31st for a minimum donation of 150 ringgit. Made before July 31st, you can attend my September 5th event. All proceeds for all your donations will be used not just for your meal for the day, but also for my various eye treatments and sponsoring some persons with disability to attend the event. From July onwards, it will be 150 ringgit until the end of July. Then in August, it will go up to 200 ringgit. Thank you.
How to attend Azlan Adnan's Meet the Author luncheon at the Hungry Tempe, 135 Petaling Street, Kuala Lumpur. Short walking distance from the Pasar Seni MRT LRT station. From 12:30 hours, Saturday, 5th September 2026.
Step 1. Download all my 30+ books on nutrition for free from Z Library using this URL. However, there is a limit of 10 downloads a day from Z Library. The workaround is to download them, and 2,250 plus others, from my Optimal Health Community Telegram broadcast channel at EPUB Electronic Publishing, All my free ebooks are published in .EPUB, electronic publishing format. If you are still living in the dark ages and only know .PDF, portable document format, and never heard of .EPUB, don't worry. You are about to have a mind-blowing experiential learning journey. If you use an Apple device, .EPUB files open in the Books app. If you are an Android user, use Universal Book Reader or a similar app. If you need further instructions on how to read .EPUB documents, just ask your favorite AI app to teach you. If you have never used an AI app before, start with Grok, Gemini, or ChatGPT. Then move on to DeepSeek, Claude, or Kling later.
Step 2. I have put all my books in the public domain, and you may share them freely. In fact, I strongly implore you to do so. Viralize them, make sure they reach every person who needs the knowledge contained in them. In Malaysia, the most recent data from the National Health and Morbidity Survey 2023 shows that 21.8% of adults are obese and 32.6% are overweight. This means the total combined rate is 54.4% of adults. Scary huge percentages of Malaysians are diabetic or suffer from other non-communicable diseases, NCDs. To be specific, in Malaysia, about 15.5% of adults have chronic kidney disease, CKD, up from 9.1% in 2011. Around 21.4% of adults aged 30 and above are at high risk of cardiovascular disease, CVD. Among older adults, about 8.5% have dementia, equating to roughly 260,000 people as of 2022. A nation is only as strong as its human capital. How strong can a nation be if more than half its population is fat, sick, and nearly dead? Of what good can you be to your family if you are fat, sick, and nearly dead? You owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be.
Step 3. Read the books, follow whatever advice that makes sense to you. If something doesn't make sense to you, or causes cognitive dissonance, you can ask me clarifying questions on the 5th of September. Also, be prepared to report on the 5th of September what improvements in your health you have noticed. So far, one person has seen her total cholesterol level drop from always above 5 to 4.6. Another has resolved a chronic constipation issue. I have written 2 books on human stool classification and stool analysis. Another person who wakes up every morning with a white layer of mucus on her tongue for more than half her life now wakes up with a clear tongue. Step 4. Make the minimum donation by the required dates. The longer you prevaricate, the higher the minimum donation gets. Minimum donation per pax: 100 ringgit for donations received by June 30th, 150 ringgit for donations received by July 31st, 200 ringgit for donations received by August 31st, 500 ringgit for donations received by the 5th of September and for walk-ins. Places are limited. However, I do not wish to deprive anyone. If enough people register, we can take over the whole restaurant, so make your donations early to reserve your place. Purpose: your donations will go towards sponsoring persons with disability, PWD, to attend the event and also towards my various ongoing eye treatments. Sponsorship: if you run a business and wish to promote your business, you can sponsor door gifts, gift vouchers, or even cash.
A writer and researcher in nutrition science, Azlan has authored dozens of books on plant-based bioactives, antioxidants, and the chemistry of whole foods. In this session, he will lead a dynamic Ask Me Anything on Nutrition session. All 30 of his nutrition books are in the public domain and are downloadable at the link below. Attendees must read these books in advance and come prepared with their questions. This is a singular chance to engage with one of today's leading independent nutrition thinkers. Don't miss it. A healthy, whole food, plant-based lunch with the menu curated by Azlan Adnan will be served. No need to write your name in the reference of the bank transfer, as it will automatically be displayed, but include your phone number in case we need to contact you for any last-minute changes.
We will also celebrate Aslan's 68th birthday.
Some of you have been wondering why a YouTube channel devoted to green political philosophy and ideology would address health issues. The stark facts are these. Data from the National Health and Morbidity Survey in Malaysia 2023 shows that 54.4% of adults are either overweight or obese, with 32.6% classified as overweight and 21.8% as obese. Abdominal obesity, per Roy, was also reported at 54.5%. Compared to 2011, the combined prevalence of overweight and obesity has increased from 44.5% to 54.4%. According to the same survey, 15.6% of adults in Malaysia have been diagnosed with diabetes, kencing manis. Additionally, about 21.4% of Malaysian adults aged 30 and above have a high 10-year calculated risk of developing cardiovascular disease, CVD, sakit jantung. In Malaysia, precise prevalence data for diagnosed CVD is somewhat limited. Data from 2010 to 2021 indicated that 16.6% of all registered deaths were due to CVD. A 2015 survey found that 14.1% of working-age adults had diabetes, 24.5% had hypertension, and 45.9% had high cholesterol. The World Heart Federation also noted in 2022 that around 11% of deaths in Malaysia are linked to CVD. In 2011, the prevalence of chronic kidney disease, CKD, sakit buah pinggang, was 9.07%. A nationwide study in Malaysia in 2018 estimated that 15.48% of adults, over 5 million people, have CKD. It really is alarming. These numbers are striking, especially when you consider how rapidly they have grown over just a decade. It is a massive public health challenge. In light of these statistics, the implications for nation building and capacity building are stark. What value does a nation have if more than half its population are fat, sick, and nearly dead?
Are you fat, sick, and nearly dead? Well, if you think you're overwhelmed, you don't know where to start with this book. And then as you progress, you can, go deeper, take a deep dive into the other books. And if you want to meet me to discuss what you've read in the books, you have a chance in September to do so. However, there are 5 places already been taken up, and there are limited seats, so the sooner you register, the sooner you'll reserve a place for yourself. Attendance is by donation, so details are in the video.
Important note on event registration fees. Early bird. Donation received between the 1st and the 31st of July 2026. Minimum donation of 150 ringgits. Normal registration. Donation received between the 1st and the 31st of August 2026. Minimum donation of 200 ringgits. Late registration. Donation received between 1st to 5th September 2026. Minimum donation of 500 ringgits. All proceeds after deducting third-party costs will go towards Azlan Adnan's various ongoing eye treatments to hopefully reverse or at least arrest his macular degeneration, cataracts, photophobia, mydriasis, dry eyes, and etc. This is mission critical as, if his vision fails, he'll no longer be able to produce, edit, or upload videos. Your voluntary contributions and donations are a critical success factor. As such, your generosity, empathy, compassion, and kindness are well and truly appreciated. We thank you in advance for your invaluable help and assistance in making this event a resounding success.
About the author. Azlan Adnan, M.A., is a writer and independent researcher whose work focuses on nutrition science, food systems, and the biological foundations of human health. His writing examines how natural foods contain complex compounds that interact with human physiology in ways that may support long-term well-being. He has a particular interest in plant-based bioactive compounds such as polyphenols, carotenoids, flavonoids, and other phytochemicals found in fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, algae, and fungi. His research explores how these compounds function in plants and how they may influence human nutrition when consumed as part of a balanced diet. Azlan approaches nutrition from a multidisciplinary perspective, drawing on biochemistry, plant biology, and public health nutrition. His work aims to translate complex scientific concepts into clear explanations so that readers can better understand the nutritional value of everyday foods. He is the author of several books examining natural sources of antioxidants and other dietary compounds. Author of the Antioxidant series, Antioxidants in Herbs and Spices, Antioxidants in Algae, Microalgae, and Fungi, Antioxidants in Fruits and Vegetables, Antioxidants in Nuts and Seeds, Antioxidants in Berries. Author of the Nutrient series, Macronutrients, Volume 1, Carbohydrates, Macronutrients, Volume 2, Lipids, Macronutrients, Volume 3, Proteins, Micronutrients, Vitamins, Trace Elements, and Minerals, Anti-nutrients, the hidden blockers in your food, Phytonutrients, the quiet power of plants, Water, the forgotten fourth, a macronutrient you can't ignore, other books on health and nutrition, Tuber's briefing paper, 2nd edition, Azlan's 5-Powder Manifesto, Eating the Greek Way, How Cultural Habits Support Health Without Trying, Ideology on a Plate, How Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Turned U.S. Dietary Guidelines into a Scientific Farce, Maslow in 2026, A Practical Guide to Actual Needs, Not Scrollable Wishes. These works form part of an ongoing series exploring the chemistry, biological roles, and nutritional significance of bioactive compounds in plant foods. Through his writing, Azlan advocates a practical, food-first approach to nutrition. His work emphasizes whole foods, dietary diversity, and balanced eating patterns, rather than reliance on isolated nutrients or supplements. He holds a Master of Arts in International Business and Management from the University of Westminster in London, and writes extensively on nutrition science, health, and food-based approaches to long-term well-being. Azlan Adnan, the quiet revolutionary of real food writing. Azlan Adnan, M.A., is a Malaysian polymath who spent decades turning food into philosophy. Raw, unfiltered, no hype. You won't find him pushing superfoods or miracle diets. He dissects what actually works. Whole plants, spices, microbes, and the quiet chemistry that keeps bodies humming. With over 30 books, self-published, shared freely on Z-Library, Facebook groups, Telegram channels, Azlan's output is prolific. Part manifesto, part manual. Early works like Spring Has Sprung, a psychological thriller, and travelogues on the road to the East Coast reveal his roots in journalism, advertising, and storytelling. But nutrition became his mission. Educated with a Master of Arts in International Business and Management from the University of Westminster, London, he taught at the School of Management, Royal Holloway, London, while pursuing doctoral research in business strategy and environmental management, specializing in the international timber trade. That academic backbone, rigor, systems thinking, sustainability, bleeds into his food writing. No fluff, just evidence. The core series, the Macronutrients Trilogy, Volume 1 on carbohydrates, glucose, fiber, metabolism, Volume 2 on lipids, fats, omega-3s, inflammation, Volume 3 on proteins, repair, enzymes, muscle. Then micronutrients, water, and anti-nutrients, the plant world's double-edged sword. Anti-nutrients are naturally occurring compounds in whole foods, phytates, oxalates, lectins, goitrogens, that can bind minerals, block enzymes, or mess with absorption. They evolved as plant defenses, but in us, they steal iron from spinach, calcium from kale, or spike gut irritation from raw beans. Variety wins. 30 plants a week, not monodiets. Raw's romantic, but cooked smarter. Add spice blends like Azlan's 5-Powder Manifesto, turmeric mixes for real anti-inflammation, and you've got a library that says, eat wide, not weird. Why release it all into the public domain? Because knowledge isn't currency. It's oxygen. Azlan watched corporations gatekeep health, paywalls on papers, patented supplements, proprietary blends that hide what works. He refuses. His books aren't for sale. They're for spread. No DRM, no ads, no ego. Just files anyone can download, print, share. He says it plain. If one person in a kampong swaps white rice for brown or steams kailan instead of boiling it, that's the win, not royalties. He's no gatekeeper. His Facebook, Azlan Green Party, Instagram, and YouTube drop bite-sized truths. Traffic light WFPB guides, eye health talks on lutein, vegan journeys. He credits tradition, curries, forest mushrooms, seaweed from tides, and lives it. Unpeeled carrots, home ferments, no moralizing. 30-plus titles aren't about volume. They're depth. Carbs to phytonutrients, water to gut bugs. Azlan doesn't sell health. He hands you the tools. Read him and your plate changes. Not because you're broken, because you're built for better.
Subscribe button to show your support. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to show your support.